We have arrived at the famous Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, just on the outskirts of Milan, for the running of the Italian Grand Prix, the home of the Ferrari Mad Tifosi. Coming into this week after a crazy Belgian Grand Prix, which crowned a brand new winner, only one driver has been in the news this week. And luckily for the Tifosi, the only news of the day comes from Ferrari, as they have announced that four-time race winner Chris Chatfield will remain with the team for another season. Chris has had another impressive season in the top class, despite this season's Ferrari not being as competitive compared to last season. He currently lies 11th in the Drivers' Championship, 3 points ahead of Michael Moccio, and his team Ferrari lie 5th in the Constructors, tied for 4th with Ferrari customers Haas. Chris being 11th in the Drivers' Championship isn't a true reflection of his performances this season, as along with the Ferrari not being as good as last season, he has also ran into a bit of bad luck, whether that will be down to reliability or being involved in incidents that weren't his fault. An example of this bad luck came at Hungary a couple of races ago, where he was looking good to get a good result for the team before his engine let go, preventing him from doing so. Chris will be hoping to have a strong end to the season in 2022 and hope to have a better 2023 season. The main question now at Ferrari is who will be his teammate, as current teammate Jake Galloway will be on the top class grid in 2023 due to not putting his name down in the sign-ups on time. The three main contenders for the second Ferrari seat include the team's current reserve driver Dominic De Gelli, current Aston Martin driver Andre Verderi, who's made it clear in his sign-ups that he wants to leave Aston Martin at the end of the season, and current Red Bull driver George Roux, who could join the team if he gets booted out by Red Bull in favour of current Mercedes driver Amar Kar. It will be interesting to see who the Scarlet Red team end up choosing to partner Chris next season. And that is it for this week's edition of the GP4 OC News. The next team news will break next week at the Portuguese Grand Prix at Portimao, who will be announced next, due into practice next Tuesday at the Autodromo Internacional do Algarve for the final European race of the season. Hello everybody and welcome to round number 13 of the 2022 GP4 Offline Championship. We are here at the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, just on the outskirts of Milan for the Italian Grand Prix, the second Italian race of the season, after of course we raced at Misano earlier on in the season. I am JW97 and I'm joined by a local Italian in the commentary box just for practice. It's 2021 World Champion Franco Garva.
Yeah, ni hao or ciao. Thanks for the introduction, Joe. Yeah, I'm excited to commentate today. And as you heard, I'm starting to learn a bit of Chinese because I'm getting ready for next season. If you know, you know.
That seems to be the joke on the Discord, really, doesn't it? That people performing quite poorly. But anyway, We're about to get on the way for practice. There is no rain expected. And might as well point this out because there is no reserve drivers to talk about, at least from my knowledge. But there is a special livery out there for one of the teams. And we might as well get onto that in just a little bit for one of the teams on the grid. If Yui could be so kind, if it's in the garage. The special livery for the team, and here it is, Ferrari. You may have noticed something looks a little bit different about them. They are yellow for this weekend. Some people might call it a banana car, but they are yellow. Before people say, did I take inspiration from last year's Italian Grand Prix with Ferrari here? No, it was more the other way around. I think it was more Ferrari took inspiration from me, because I've had that livery on with me before my old hard drive died, and before Ferrari came up with that idea of having a bit of yellow on their car, and even before the yellow Lamborghini from last season. So really, I should be getting my royalties for that one. But yes, we have a yellow Ferrari for this week, so no red for them. So the only red car you're going to be seeing is from Alfa Romeo. So hope you like it, and it should hopefully be quite an interesting look for Ferrari.
Let's hope actually they don't have the reliability. Yeah. The number
Well,
one was better. Yeah, let's say.
better when it's
Okay,
on the
I
racetrack.
like it.
Because the garage doesn't really help it, because it was in a red garage. Anyway, as we are underway here for the practice session, we might as well talk about what happened at... well, first of all, we might as well react to the news, really, that happened. Chris Chatfield remaining at Ferrari, I guess, really, Franco, no real surprise.
I think it was already known since millions of years, basically. Like even in Mars, probably they knew it. So yeah, it's not really a surprise.
Yep, indeed. And of course, the question now remaining on who will be his teammate for next season, as obviously we know that Jake Galloway's not going to be at the team next season due to the fact that, of course, he didn't sign up in time. But enough about the team news now, because it was only one bit of news for this week, which obviously came as no real surprise to everyone. And we might as well talk about what happened last week, because, well, there was a lot to unpack in last week's Belgian Grand Prix, starting off with a brand new winner in the series. Barcia's class, finally a winner in the top class after, well, coming off the back of a disappointing 2016 season. He's definitely proved that he's now a much better driver. And not only that, he took his and Haas's first ever victory in the top class. And I think it was safe to say a very popular result in Belgium.
I think we have seen personally one of the best performances probably seen in the last few seasons. Even with probably Evan and Franco colliding and probably giving an out surely to Bartos, that was nonetheless an insane performance. Like his pace was just amazing, and even with a stop to do more than the others, he pulled a huge gap on the rivals, and he simply dominated. So I really felt impressed by his performance, and I think that if next year they're going to have a good car as it expected, we can see Bartos definitely fighting for even wins and podiums.
Indeed, a stunning performance at Spa, and who knows, really, will we get any more surprise wins during the season for the remaining few races of the season? Who knows, really? But it wasn't just Bartos that was the prize on the podium. We had Miklos Gau getting a podium also at Belgium. Of course, got a podium last season as well for AlphaTauri, but at least in AlphaTauri's last season, at least they do get one more podium before they go.
Yeah, let's say it's actually a bit sad that anyway, it is the Ferrari, but it's actually sad to see Miklos being sort of let's say chopped with this, because his aim was basically to make AlphaTauri great again, and let's say he has managed to do it in partially only, but getting a podium, I think it's probably a huge victory compared to where AlphaTauri was last year. So I think in general Gal is performing like he was basically doing during his Red Bull days in 2019 and 2020, in the last few races at least, I think.
Indeed, as all, Perrin having a bit of a moment through into Parabolica there, but thankfully doesn't make too many errors. I mean, if anybody saw the Formula 2 qualifying yesterday, you'll see there were a few errors down at Parabolica, and so I don't know if that's going to be the case during qualifying a little bit later on. But whilst we're on the topic of Perrin, because we're riding on board of him at the moment, it's safe to say that he had P2 in the bag for quite a while, but he basically bottled it at P1.
Unbelievable that it was looking so close to be a podium, because the gap to the car behind was basically 20 seconds, because it was Gal's car basically that had pitted for the second time, and he was holding on Galloway, who was also going to pit a lap later. So such a shame he threw away basically 18 points that would have been actually precious for him and for his future for sure. And let's hope he can redeem himself here, because let's say this season for him has been quite frustrating overall.
Yeah, indeed. I do think he actually took pole here last season, did Jesus Perinin, judging from the thumbnail. So he does have some good memories around here at Monza. So maybe a good place for him to bounce back. And on the topic of Renault, because Yuri's just pointed it to us in the little chat that me and Franco are in, they did reach 353 kilometers an hour down that straight. So not the levels to what we saw with Baku, but still pretty high indeed. It'd be interesting to see what all the other teams are doing down the straight, particularly Ferrari as well, because if anybody remembers from the test race at Belgium last week, they were apparently pretty quick down the straight. And looking at where Galloway is at the moment, it might have been down to a bit of slipstream there. He is currently up in third place, and we do know that the Ferrari does have some good straight line speed in that engine. It's just throughout the year they've just had chassis problems, really.
Yeah, I think that Ferrari can definitely perform well if they keep a good speed across all the sections of the track, and it could be even their best weekend of the season if they are able enough to also use the power of the Tifosi. And yeah, let's say Chris Chatfield is having a little bit of tough season so far. So yeah, it's not exactly like the last season where Chatfield came here as a race winner in Belgium, and I think he also won here at Monza last year. But for sure, it could be a race where Ferrari can perform pretty well.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, he also did perform pretty well with Jake Galloway last time out at Belgium as well, managing to finish in fourth. Was also fighting for a podium, and he even got the fastest lap of the race. So the fact that he got the fastest lap around a track like Spa, which is also high speed, it is quite encouraging when it comes to the high speed tracks that Ferrari could actually perform something, and it could really help them, especially with their fight with Haas in the constructors. Because coming into this, you would have seen in the news video, Haas are actually ahead of them on a count back of wins, of course, because Kloss's win actually put Haas ahead of them in the constructors championship on a tie. Really. So basically, them having the top end speed could become crucial for them if they're going to get fourth in the Constructors' Championship.
Yeah, indeed. And also they had two drivers that actually did pretty well last race. Even Michael Mocho recovered once again from a lap 1 damage to fifth place that was probably looking unlikely after the first lap crash, but yeah, then all the bit of chows and also Michael having a good pace actually helped us to get even more points and now to be ahead of Ferrari. And I think that they can even think to finish ahead of Ferrari, and that will be actually a sort of loss for Ferrari, because getting beaten by your clients is a sort of, yeah, it's like Aston Martin right now with Mercedes in real life.
Yeah, indeed. As meanwhile, looks like a Lambo and a McLaren are going back and forth. Looks like Patel and Willows are going back and forth. Of course, as well, Patel's also had a bit of an adjustment to his helmet recently, in that he's asked for basically a sunset pattern on the top of his head to be in the colour of blue instead of orange, really. So that should be on him right now. As anyway, as we now look at Barges. As Yuri's just confirmed that it is on him. So yeah, that's that really. As we now look at Videri, he's trying to have a go at the other McLaren of Kirishima De Rosa. But also as well, it was pretty much a good weekend for Haas. Not only for Kloss, but Mocho also putting in a good performance as well, despite the fact that once again he ended up getting damage on the first lap. But he did make a good recovery to fifth, even having better pace compared to Armar Carr.
Yeah, that's actually the most curious thing about the last race in general. Like, we thought basically that Armar would have passed him easily, getting the fifth place in the last scene, but Michael held on pretty well, even with a sort of moment at Rouge while trying to overtake Galloway, leaving the pits in the last 3 laps, I think. So good performance by him, and of course Bartos was of another planet last week. So yeah, right now it looks good for them.
Indeed, and be curious to see what Haas can do for the remainder of the season. Whether or not they can beat Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship is going to be another question, as Kloss meanwhile goes up into 5th place, speaking of Haasers. But we might as well talk about other things. We might as well talk about the title contenders, because we did allude to it when talking about Balchus Kloss there. It's safe to say for the title contenders, I think the gloves are off between Lopez and Byrne there, because, they've been rivals all year, but for the first time this season, they came to blows.
Yeah, let's say last race was a sort of an unfortunate crash, because under wet conditions it was quite difficult to make a move there. Probably it was a racing incident because also Evan closed a little bit the door, but of course, now they're basically still tied because they have 3 points of gap, but they have to watch from behind as well, because Armour is coming with his consistency, even if Armour is having a sort of difficult season at the moment. But in general, I think that Franco and Evan looks the likely contenders for the rest of the season. And the crash that week at the end finished in a sort of fair way, because both of them DNF'd and all stayed the same.
Yeah, indeed, and it did also mean as well that both Roke and Carr got involved as well, because they ended up getting damage from that whole crash that happened between those two. And for Roke, it was basically a race to forget, really, because not only did he have the damage, which prevented him from taking the lead of the race after their accident, but he also then had an aquaplane moment through into turns 12 and 13, and then got caught out by the debris, which took him out of the race. After Rahul Patel had an accident, a pretty much big accident, coming off the top of Radion. And might as well ask you this, Franco. Did you get a little bit of flashbacks there? Because it kind of reminded me of your 2020 crash.
Yeah, and that crash didn't finish well for me, because I got basically collected at full speed by Armour. I remember this, and with that, I don't remember if I got a grid penalty, but I don't think so. But yeah, basically, for Patel, it was a similar error as I did in 2020. So basically, it's a tough spot when it rains, because you go there at on a blind point and you don't see what exactly comes. So you have to be careful there when conditions like last week or in 2020 are around at Spa. So yeah.
Indeed, and Patel definitely wanting to bounce back after that accident he had at Spa-Francorchamps. But talking about some more benefactors from the Belgian Grand Prix, we might as well talk about it as well. McLaren finally getting some points last time out in Belgium after what has been a tricky season for them. Kirishima De Rosa getting 8th place after being overtaken by Laura Chung on the final lap. But finally, McLaren getting some points after, so far this season, it's just been a nightmare for them in terms of reliability.
Yeah, I think that McLaren have lost a huge amount of points. Like, they couldn't be close to actually Lamborghini in 7th, but they could be clear in 8th right now, because I remember some races during the early part of the season where they were doing pretty well, and or reliability or unfortunate crashes where they weren't at fault made them lose a lot of points. So the most recent episode where actually McLaren lost a lot of points was also Hungary, where from some laps to the end, some laps before the end, Joseph Willows was looking good in 6th, doing a very good race, and the suspension broke down and McLaren ended up with nothing. So I hope that actually the Spa performance done by De Rosa is actually a promising sign that they will improve for the rest of the season. And also Joseph Willows was also lucky in the beginning of the start at Spa, because sowing his fuel, he could have been even fast because he was on a two-stop strategy, and two-stop strategy was looking quite solid on in general. So we have seen it with Kloss. So such a what if race that could have been for Willows. So yeah. And I don't know what happened to Joe, but I think he's having a little bit of problems, and we are now seeing Bartus Kloss, who of course is going to pit this lap. And okay, I think yes, something happened to Joe. Probably Joe is trying to reconnect himself. And meanwhile, we are here, of course, with Bartus Kloss. So far, basically, lap times are insane. Let's say 1:17.8. It looks even faster than in real life cars. And of course, as mentioned last week by Joe, next year they are going to be more slower in general. Like, they won't have these insane speeds, and also the track records we are seeing right now are not going to be replied again next year. So yeah, let's see, of course, how they will be fast. And of course, it will be difficult to drive these cars as well, because they will be harder in terms of a stable braking point. So it could lead to a lot of lockups. And of course, right now let's focus on this season, and then we will talk about next season when this season ends in general. So meanwhile, Chang is improved in 6th, and now we are seeing Andrea Federi, who is fair to say that last race did caused a mess, of course, with the crash with David Kupok, who also looked pretty fast during the first laps. Like, it was even faster than Armor Car on the same tires. And such a shame that basically David's race finished with a spinning Aston Martin on his way at F1, and yeah, we all know what has happened then. As meanwhile, behind him there's Armor Car, and Armor Car as well is having a good season. Yes, but not as good as it was last season. Like, it's even a sort of luck coincidence that he's fighting for the title. It's a sort of Jay McKenzie 2017 season, but let's say it's a sort, because it's not like Jay McKenzie 2017, where basically he was nearly getting the title, even with a lot of bad performances. So I don't think it's the same for Armor, but right now I think that overall this season is performed a little bit weaker than Franco. So yeah. As meanwhile, of course, we're seeing the yellow Ferrari, and of course this yellow car, so for a lot of people, reminds of Renault. And let's hope Ferrari won't have the same reliability of Renault. And in general, for Ferrari, that's been a quite difficult season. Quite difficult. Like, they had a huge reliability problems. And welcome back, Joe. Can you hear me? Joe? Well, meanwhile, Quebec improved to 11. Joe? Still trying to getting back. And hopefully it isn't the same problem that Joe had yesterday, and that it won't took long enough. And anyway, well, 2 or 3 minutes. Let's hope he will get back very soon. And of course, finishing the thing about Ferrari, basically compared to last year, is a huge downgrade for them. But still think that in general, on many occasions, they were also lucky because of reliability problems, and they could actually be clear in fourth right now, but sadly for major reasons they aren't, and now we are title with us even. So it's a sort of flop season for Ferrari in general. Like, and right now Joe is still having problems, as I heard him trying to disconnect himself and reconnect. Joe, can you hear me? Joe? And once again he's trying to disconnect and reconnect himself. Joe? Again disconnected. Sorry for this sort of boomerang situation. Lopez improves in third with a slipstream of the Williams of it was Sontag. And speaking of Sontag, let's say last race for Williams has been a sort of disappointment for both Felix and Jamie. Joe?
Hello.
Can you hear me, Joe? Oh, yeah, I can hear you. Oh, once again disconnected. Joe?
I was just waiting up with the underwater thing. It was because my internet died halfway through.
Oh, damn. Is it all solved now, or?
I'm here, so yeah.
Well, good. Well, I was saying that basically last race it wasn't an easy race for Williams. Like both of their drivers did some mistakes during the race, especially at Stavelot, losing their front wing in a same way. Basically, a sort of copy crash between the both drivers. So yeah.
I mean, yeah. If you're talking about synchronized losing your front wings, and Williams was the perfect example last week in Belgium. I mean, for them, it was just a race where they could have easily have got some more points as well, given how crazy that race was. They really didn't take advantage of it.
Yeah, also for the fact that only 13 cars finished the race, so it could have been actually a huge opportunity to be at least 9th or 10th. Yeah. Wasted opportunity for them.
Yeah, indeed, and well, that's pretty much that, really. But what topics should you talk about then, whilst my internet died, so I can
Well,
catch back
what I was
up?
talking, well, I was saying basically Ferrari having a sort of flop season in general. Like even with reliability problems, it would have been flop season because they would be probably still behind the Renault. Probably clear of us, but in general, it is what it is, and they're right now on account back with us. So yeah,
Yeah.
this I talked, and also the fact that basically Armor is having a sort of Jay McKenzie season, but not like Jay McKenzie's season. Like in terms of performances, Franco is doing quite better compared to Armor,
Yeah.
and that Armor being a title contender right now is just a sort of, let's say, consistency thing, and in general, the thing that actually helps Armor to be in contention for the title is the fact that he never had a DNF this season so far, and he's the only driver. So I don't want to jinx you, Armor, if you hear this, but yeah, you're the only one to have never retired in a race this season.
Okay, well, let's talk about other teams then, because we've already talked about McLaren before my internet decided to die on me. So we might as well talk about the other two teams that also got points. And one of them we're riding on board with now, Aston Martin. No, not Andre Verderi, because he had a bit of a disastrous week at Belgium. But Johannes Martin's picking up some more points, and well, Really, whereas Williams weren't able to capitalise, Aston Martin were.
Well, I think that Martins has been quite good this last week because he also had damage from Jamie Griffiths, I think, on the initial laps, and he did a quite good recovery. Was even also close to the Rosa at the end, and finished ahead of Baldinger as well. So I think it's fair to say that Martins can approach this weekend on a positive mood, and with the hope that he can actually bring some other good performances from now to the end of the season on a possible chaotic race.
Yeah, indeed. Let's not forget as well, he is also in contention for Renault as well, along with Felix Sontag. So really, just keeps these performances up. He might get the seat, but who knows really how the rest of the season is going to pan out. And also Alfa Romeo as well, getting points at Belgium as well with Bent Valdinga. And yeah, that was basically crucial really, because him getting that point meant that Alfa Romeo stayed ahead of McLaren in the Constructors' Championship.
Yeah, basically, let's say Ben's race last week was sort of bad race because he was looking slower compared to Amelia Wilson. Then Amelia Wilson crashed at Stavelot, as we have seen, while he was also fighting for a good position for top 10, and that was also such a shame. But yeah, at the end, the most important thing is that he brought that point to the team that also helps them to let's say still be ahead of McLaren mathematically. But I don't know how much it will last, because I think that actually Alfa Romeo have to pray to see another chaotic race for a point opportunity.
Yeah, indeed. I think from what you're gathering there, I think you're saying that McLaren might actually have a better car than Alfa Romeo. It's just that they keep on breaking down for whatever reason.
Yeah, that's the main thing. McLaren has been penalized a lot this season by the unlucky technical issues and unlucky crashes. So yeah.
Yep, indeed, and well, we'll have to wait and see how the rest of the season pans out. Of course, for Amelia Wilson, of course, we know that she will be retiring at the end of her home race at Dakota, which is just looking at the rounds, 4 races away. So not that long to go, and still speculation about who will be replacing her for those final 4 races. Hopefully, we'll get answers for that within the next few weeks or so. But anyway, as we have just over 11.5 minutes to go in this session, we might as well take a look at what the leaderboard looks like then for the remainder of this session, as we see Jake Galloway going out on the racetrack. So it is Jesus Perrin, the man who took pole last season, who's currently at the top with Evan Byrne in second. Franco Lopez is in third with Jake Galloway fourth. Amar Carr is in fifth with George Roach sixth. Loa Chung is in seventh. Michael Mocho 8th. Bartosz Kloss is in ninth, followed by Miklas Gal in 10th. Then it is Chris Chatfield in 11th. Roman Quark 12th. Then it is David Kupak in 13th. Oh, the phone! Oh, big crash!
My God, what a big crash.
Felix Sontag, who's had a massive off at Parabolica, and that is his practice session done with in a big way.
Wow, it was actually a huge shunt as well, because he got flipped on back on the track. So in real life, it would have been probably an injury. So yeah.
But obviously no such injuries. Although you could also say that the impact test might have done its job there. You never know, of course, how that would have been in real life. But still a huge stunt for Felix Sontag either way. And that is his practice session done with. So the spare car ban will be implemented on him. Thankfully, however, everybody avoided him and also avoided the debris.
Yeah, that's actually my record, because as we saw yesterday, let's say in the F2 qualifying, a driver crashed at Parabolica, and of course the other one collected the debris, and both of these drivers were actually out of qualifying. We are talking about Broster and Sazonov. And yeah, luckily the debris here are out of the racing line, so let's say we are safe.
Well, you say that, but I think Wilson's just clipped that wheel there that was bouncing across. So it seems that it's got one, but luckily nothing major really. As it looks like the wheel is now off the racing line, it seems. But there's a bit of debris, and that's Roke who's out of it. So Roke's session is now come to an end because of it. So It has been collected, a bit of debris there. Is anybody else going to collect that debris? Because there is a wheel on the racing line, as you can see there. As
the Lambo.
The Lambo's lost his front wing there. That's Rahul Patel. Anybody else going to pick up some debris? Because it's been scattered. As front wing lost there for the Haas. As front wing lost for the Ferrari as well. And the Aston Martin just about avoiding it there. But the Alfa Romeo doesn't because of Roke's car. So there's debris all over the place here.
What the hell? I talked too soon, my lord. Why have I talked too soon, man? Oh,
yeah,
well.
Indeed, a lot of repair bills going on here. Renault has also got damage from all of that as well. But that's that. Felix Sontag is now in the garage, so a spare car ban will be implemented on him, and the same will also be applied to George Roque as well. That will be his session done with once his car obviously gets retrieved over the barriers, once his car eventually comes to a halt, because it was still crawling down the pit straight while we were talking there. So yeah, that's that then. So, whilst we wait for that to get cleared up, as I was saying, this is what the leaderboard looks like. Perrin at the top, Byrne in second, Lopez third, Galloway fourth, Carr in fifth, Roque in sixth, Macho in 10th, Chung in 8th, Kloss 9th, Gal 10th, Chatfield in 11th, with Quag in 12th, Kupok in 13th, De Rosa 14th, Martins in 15th, with Wilson 16th, Patel 17th, Valdinger in 18th, Sontag 19th, Willows in 20th, Vaderi 21st, and Griffiths in 22nd position. Griffiths the only one to be over 2 seconds off the pace at the moment. But eventually Roque's car has come to a halt, and I think that's all of it done with. So it's just Roque and Sontag who will be finished for the day. Everybody else who has damage, they'll just have to come back in to get a new front wing, basically. So, yeah, that's that. As everybody trying to avoid George Roque as best as possible, as he's now going towards the barriers, really, as everybody trying to take avoiding action of his Red Bull. They would have been told over the radio that there is a stationary car on the pit straight that's being attended to there. But as soon as Roque gets hoisted over the barriers, of course, then the spare car ban will be implemented on him. So, yeah, very crazy those last few moments there, Franco.
Yeah, let's say I'm actually happy for George that this happened in practice and not in the race, because it's the second consecutive time he crashes because of debris out of track. So it's better in practice for sure than in qualifying or in the race itself. So it actually this mess actually reminded me, as Dennis also mentioned in the chat, of the Bahrain 2013 Grand Prix, where I think a car left the last corner, rejoined on track dangerously and collected the other, and then all the pile-up started there.
Yeah, it was a big pile-up from 2013, of course, and, well, kind of flashbacks there, but this time here at Monza instead of Sakia. So, anyway, as all the guys with damage are now back in the pit lane to get a new front wing, as that's that, really, so we can continue with proceedings. Is Roque in the garage yet, or are we still waiting for him? I think we're still waiting for Roque's car to spawn in the garage. I think it might do as soon as car goes in, because I know that usually one car, due to how GP4 works, usually gets left behind. Now he's in the garage. Roque is now in the garage. I just saw him there, but I think Yuri can actually do it manually here without the need of pausing it, because I think you can see the number very quickly that just came up. So that's that. Whoa, Galloway having a bit of a moment through into Ascari there, but thankfully was able to save it there. But yeah, that's that really. As now heading down towards Parabolica now, then we will go, as we have just over 7.5 minutes to go. But Galloway currently 4th at the moment, and so far, just looking at where Chatfield is, he's currently in 11th. So a little bit hard to tell what Ferrari's pace is like around here at Monza. So it seems that, well, Galloway looks quick, but Chatfield currently down in 11th position. So yeah, that's that really, as Galloway now then making his way into the first chicane now, then he'll go. As now Galloway will make his way towards the long right-hander, which is a name that I've completely forgotten about. I should know it, because I've said it many times before, but on this occasion my brain has decided to go somewhere else on that occasion. So anyway, as Yuri's actually just mentioned, when it comes to the spare card ban, that he's actually got a paper note. So he probably, which means he could do it without pausing it, really. So interesting. Although he says he doesn't have it yet, but I think on this occasion, because of the fact that Roque's number appeared on the little software that he's got going on in the background, I think it was easy for him to detect, really, rather than pausing it. So yeah, that's that really. Is now going through the Ascari chicane now then, and Galloway will get a tow here, I think, from that car in front. So, well, he's currently down on his personal best, and I do know that he actually did have some slipstream when he actually said his best time earlier on. So that's that. As Chung has a bit of a moment going through into Ascari there, but nothing too serious. As so far, it's fair to say Lamborghini, even though Chung's points streak ended at Silverstone. So far, she's finished every race in the points, every race that she's finished in at the moment. And Lamborghini have scored points in every race so far, because the two races that that Chung retired from, Patel has been able to score points at. So, yeah, Lamborghini continuing that up, but so far finding themselves in 7th in the Constructors. So, yeah, very, very interesting indeed, as Chung doesn't improve on that occasion and stays in 8th position. So that's that, as Chung makes her way through into the first chicane there. And Yuri's just actually pointed something out in another chat that I'm in, which is very, very interesting indeed. So, yeah, I don't know if anybody's figured it. I think if anybody's in the stream chat, you can probably guess what he might have said. But anyway, as Galloway now then making his way into the Ascari chicane, as we have just over 5 minutes to go, and now he's being held up by the AlphaTauri, so this is not going to help him in terms of improving at this stage. As Gal now then, of course, pretty much doing a good job these last few races is Miklos Gal, and well, he needs to really if he's got any chance of staying in the top class, because we know that he is competing for 2 seats, Mercedes and the team that's in front of him at the moment, Haas, so it'd be interesting to see, of course. So we know that both of those, we know that Mercedes are going to have at least one new driver in the team, because of course Lopez is heading off, of course, to Toyota next season, and of course Haas have confirmed that Kloss will be staying on for 2023 before the Belgian Grand Prix. So it will be interesting to see where Gal goes, but either way, I think some people have mentioned it before, he has got stiff competition in both of those seats.
Yeah, I think in general it won't be easy for him to basically be confirmed very early. Like, competition for Mercedes is quite tough right now, because all the drivers looks like to be quite tight at the moment. There will be probably the domino effect might be started if Marca will win the duel with George Roque for the second Red Bull seat, and from there we could see all the other pieces of the puzzle getting composed, starting from Mercedes. And also the fact that if Miklos Gal misses out on a Mercedes seat, is going to be in contention for us. And right now I think that it's quite difficult even in that seat as well, because Michael Mocho recently stepped up his performances, and it won't be easy to let him basically getting sacked from us and to replace him. So it will be curious to see what will happen.
Yep, and thank you, Kurishu, who mentioned that it's Curva Grande, the one that I was struggling with a little bit earlier on, and also Azam as well, who mentioned it as well, so thank you for that. So I'll remember that for future now. So anyway, as Barch's Kloss now then, currently fighting with Jake Galloway, and whilst Franco was talking there, I have just noticed that the Ferraris have got the wrong numbers, they're the wrong way round, so that might have to be fixed before... That's going to probably have to be fixed before qualifying. I thought I'd got them the right way around when I sent them to Yuri, but clearly not. A bit of an error on my part there, so they will have to be switched around, hopefully, before qualifying starts. Okay, fair enough. As Mocho now then has got up into 4th place, as we were just talking about him a little bit earlier on, as we ride on board with teammate Barch's Kloss, who's currently got one of the Ferraris bothering him at the moment. I think it's Jake Galloway who's currently bothering him at the moment, as I get my words twisted there, apologies. But yeah, with just over 2 minutes to go then, this is what the leaderboard looks like. Purinen at the top, Byrne in 2nd, Lopez in 3rd with Mocho 4th, Galloway in 5th, and Carr in 6th, Roque in 7th, Chung in 8th, Kloss is in 9th with Gal 10th, Chatfield 11th, Quag is in 12th, with Kupok in 13th, De Rosa 14th, Patel's just gone up into 15th with Martins in 16th, Wilson 17th, Valdinger in 18th, Sontag 19th, Willows in 20th, Videri 21st, and Griffiths in 22nd. Of course, Roke and Sontag not taking any further part in this session due to a crash that happened just a few minutes ago. As I think we're now going to ride on board with the drivers for the remainder of the session. Wilson crosses the line, she does not improve, and she stays in 17th position, as Lopez and Martins, I think that was behind her, about to start a lap very soon. As we ride on board with Franco Lopez in the Mercedes, of course, wanting to forget because of the fact, of course, that he has retired from the last 2 races as Lopez, so he'll want to bounce back as quick as possible from that. He can't afford any more times. I think on the case of Belgium, he was lucky that it was him and his team and his rival that collided with him there. Macho crosses the line, no improvement. He stays in 4th position as Chatfield is done for the day, as well, for the session at least. He'll be back out for qualifying a little bit later on. Well, I'll obviously be joined by Kirashu for qualifying, as now Andre Videri, no improvement, stays where he is. Valdinger doesn't improve either. So we now look at Bartosz Kloss now then in the Haas as he comes down the pit straight, and across the line now then we will go, and he does not improve, as Evan Byrne now then, of course, determined to also bounce back after colliding with his rival at Spa-Francorchamps last week, as Byrne now then is going to cross the line in the Red Bull. No improvement, he stays where he is, as Laura Chung now then comes across the line. So no improvement for her either. As we look at Roman Quag, who's currently in 12th. So again, a curious case of inconsistency with Renault, 1st and 12th at the moment. No improvement for the Frenchman, who will of course be staying at Renault for next season. Perrinen, of course, who we believe is going to be more likely leaving the team at the end of the season, but to where we shall see, as Perrinen does not improve. As Wilson crosses the line, no improvement for her. As we look at Lopez, 10, 9, 8, 7, and now 6, and now 5, 4, 3, 2, and now 1 and 0, and the checkered flag is out. That's the end of the session. So Wilson was the last one to cross the line. Lopez doesn't improve, stays in 3rd. Martins doesn't improve either, he stays where he is. David Kupak across the line, he will go, and he doesn't improve either. As we look at Andre Videri now then in the Aston Martin. Macho has improved meanwhile, but he stays in 4th position. Videri coming down the pit straight now then, as he is now going to cross the line in the Aston Martin. And he's currently in 21st position, and he stays 21st for the time being, as that was Valdinger there that just went into the pits. Here comes Bartosz Kloss in the Haas now then. Across the line he will go, and he does not improve, stays where he is. As now Evan Byrne, currently P2 at the moment, behind former teammate Jesus Perrinen, as now the Red Bull driver crosses the line, and no improvement, stays where he is. The checkered flag man, for some reason, waving a yellow flag for some bizarre reason. But anyway, and now it's a checkered flag again. Very bizarre. Chung didn't improve. Quag across the line in the Renault. Let's see what he can do. And no improvement, stays where he is. As we look at Jamie Griffiths now then, he's up on his personal best, and he loses time in the last sector and remains in 22nd. Jesus Perrinen in the Renault, across the line he goes on his final lap of practice. No improvement for him, as where is Wilson, in fact, because Wilson was in front of Lopez. I am aware of that, and Wilson's crossed the line, and that's practice done with. So Perrinen top, Byrne 2nd, and Lopez in 3rd, but yeah, some very strong pace from Perrinen in practice there.
Yeah, let's say we actually hope that it could be the real Perignon space that we haven't seen from a long time. Like, okay, no, we have seen it last week with the crash, but he was never able to capitalize a concrete result because of technical issues from Renault or unfortunate crashes. So I really hope that this could be the race where actually Perignon can have a flawless weekend. So finger crossed for him, and of course Renault have the advantage of the speed as well, because they're pretty fast in the straights, and this could help them to be closer with the Red Bull and Mercedes.
Indeed. So we're just going to take a brief pause for the moment, and we'll come back with a fresh stream for qualifying. Of course, Franco won't be with us. Of course, I'll be joined by Kirashu instead for qualifying. But until then, I'm in JW97. He's been Franco Gamba, and we'll see you in just a little bit for the qualifying session. See you in a bit.
Bye bye.